So we'll start with the exact same point. So let me start my screen, share my screen, share the contain. Is my screen visible to you people? Is it shared? Visible. Great. Fine. So in the last session, the discussion was ended at a point when I was saying about there are 5 to 6 thousand classes in Java, and each class have those many methods. How come some a programmer will remember everything, or how come programmer will have an idea that okay, I'll be able to I have to look for this class into this package and all. So actually there is no need. So when eventually when you will practice lot and lot about Java, you will have an idea, okay, there is some class that I can use for my to solve this particular problem. But there is no need to remember the full syntax of each class and its constructors and its methods. What you can do is you can look for something called as a Java documentation. Now, if you go to the internet, let me open up the browser. If you go to the internet on Google and if you type Java JDK, you'll you'll have the link to this page. Now right now there is a version 14, whichever the latest version in the market available for that page, you may get a URL. Now here are two options you can see. The first option is download JDK, and the second option is documentation download. Now, when you click on this documentation download, a zip file will be downloaded. You can see the zip file in my in the left corner of the screen, left bottom corner of the screen. The zip file is downloaded. Once the zip file is downloaded, you can copy the zip file to your desired location. I've copied into our folder, which we have used for programming, which is present in my E drive, my projects directory. And I've right clicked on this zip file and extracted it using WinRAR. Now, once the zip file is extracted, you will have a folder called as JDK, the version whatever it is, doc. Sometime you may get a folder something only called as a docs. Guess docs folder. So now, if you go inside this docs folder, okay, the folder docs is inside this. If you go inside this docs folder, you will find a file called as index.html. So under this docs folder, there is a file called as index.html. If you click on this file, it will open up in a browser. It didn't open. Let me completely select another browser. I've selected Firefox and I opened it. Now you can see that the documentation is available on your computer. Now, uh, in the last session, we have checked the package something called as util, which is in the java.util, and then the class was scanner. So here you can go for all modules. You can look for Java Standard Edition. Then there is availability of Java JDK, specifically for JDK, and most of the packages which you can use are available. Now here are various at the bottom. You can find that the variety of ways in which you can scroll, or that same thing menu is available in the top also. In the variety of ways you can see this particular documentation or use this particular documentation. Index. So index wise you can find it, and there is also package view, all packages view. You can click on this all package view also. Overview will take you to the same thing. It's not allowing me to play. Let me use the index and then all packages, and let me quickly go to java.util. So one thing is this is sorted or alphabetically sorted. So I can go for and look for a package called as java.util. So if you go to java.util and if you click on this package, then you will be redirected to another page. In this page, you will find all the classes or interfaces summary which are available in util package. Now, if I go to the class summary in this section and if I scroll down, you will eventually see that there is a something called as scanner. Here, we have a scanner. So what we have done is we have opened a documentation in a browser. Then I've clicked on index, and from the index I've select packages summary. I'll repeat the steps. When I opened the documentation, it was looking like this. I selected this in JDK. I have this all packages available directly inside JDK. Then I selected index. From the index, I've selected all packages. Now here in the all packages, I have to look for the package which I'm looking for. So I'll select java.util. In the java.util, right now we are interested in something called as a class which is called as a scanner. So I will scroll down and I'll find a class called as a scanner. I'll select this. Now here you can find that how you can use a scanner class. So here you can see the scanner, the object created is SC, which stands for scanner, abbreviation for scanner is assignment, the constructor created system.in, and then you are reading an integer. Now this is the same thing that we did in our program. Now what if you want to read a long value? So you have to use sc dot next long. Same for string scs dot next. So here the scanner object is created as s. You can use that. Now if you scroll down, you will find what are the constructors available. So here in the last session I said that mistakenly many people think that scanner is capable of dealing with only keyboard input, or that is designed only for dealing with the keyboard input. Now here you can see that scanner can deal with file. Scanner can deal with input stream. Now once it means the input stream could be read from any device. Now, in the last session, one lady asked me that why I am saying scanner into bracket system.in, and I said that we can ultimately do it in another style. The other style is system.in is an version for input representing an input stream. So what you can do is input stream from a keyboard. So what we can do is we can create an object of input stream. Like, let me open up a notepad and brief about that also. So what I can do is, this is how we created an object of scanner. Let's say sc is equal to new scanner, and then we said system.in, and then the question was why I'm directly using system.in inside a constructor. So when I used system.in in my while creating the object of scanner class, that time this constructor was called scanner into bracket input stream and source, which is the source. So when we say system.in, that time source is marked as your keyboard. So if I want to do it in an indirect way, what I can do is I can type like this: input stream, let's say obj, and assign system.in instance to this. And instead of writing system.in, I'll say obj. Now again we are creating an input stream. Again we are creating an object of scanner class, but in this time we are directly passing the object of input stream rather than passing the object of system.in. So system.in specifically mentioning that you are trying to read from a keyboard or something, whereas the scanner is capable of reading from any input stream. Now using this input stream class like this, you can really deal with any device which can from which you can read the data. So right now I'm using input stream for reading from a keyboard. When you will proceed in Java, you will find that it can be done with this also. Now my input stream, this obj, is not reading from a keyboard. It's going to try to read from the input which is coming from the internet, or not internet, from a network device. So this is how you can change the use of a scanner class. And even if you change from the device from which you are reading and writing, the methods of the scanner class are not going to change. So if you are reading from a, let's say, network, and if you apply next, that means your network card is supposed to send a text information. If you say use next.int, se.next.int, then you are expecting an integer information from your network card. So let me take some few responses on the chat window. Have you got this? Is it clear? What is the documentation? Yes, sir. Okay, good. Anyone else have any doubt till this moment? Till this point, anyone have a doubt? No doubts. Okay, the girl who asked the question, are you present in this session? Have I really answered your question in this case? I don't know who asked the question in the last session. Somebody asked it using a audio. Is she present? And is it clear for you now? Fine, I think she is not present. Let's proceed. No issues. Now, let me open our program. Let me use not notepad. I'm still sticking to CMD as we are writing very basic programs. I'll stick to basic environment for developing the code, my Java. And now let me open up our first dot notepad, first dot Java file. So this is the code which will run. Okay, fine. So this is the code which is going to run. Let me delete this line. No need to use it. So what we are doing in this case is we are saying input stream, object of input stream, then system.n, then object of scanner sc, new scanner. Instead of passing system.in, we are passing object of o, and then I'm using uh, sc.next int to read a integer from the keyboard, and this program will work fine. Let me compile it. Java C first dot Java and Java first. Let me type 22, and you can see the 22 is displayed on the screen. So this is what actually happening in the background when we are using the scanner class. And optimized way to do is like new scanner. Why to it in a tedious way? Let's make it simple. Let's directly pass the intended device, or you can choose the this style also, or you can choose this style also. It's like when you proceed in Java, as you get comfortable more and more with Java, eventually you will have enough maturity to select whether the first approach has to be applied or the second approach has to be applied. Most of the time with the scanner class, you will be applying this second approach rather than going with the first approach. The first approach really required when something is wrong with the other streams which are available in Java, which are designed to specifically deal with particular devices. So if those streams fail to serve the purpose, then somebody we may have to turn to scanner class and use that scanner class to read from variety of devices. Otherwise, mostly we will use scanner class to deal with the keyboard input. So let me use this style, plain style, rather than going with input stream and all. So the both mean same, no difference. Both means same, no difference. Let me delete this IO. I required that for another thing. Now sc.next, I knew that there is a method called as next and int, which is going to read the integer value from the keyboard. Then you are a new person to a JDK, and how come you understand that how many methods are with the scanner class and how to find them? So you go to the documentation, you go to the util package, select the scanner class, and when you scroll down in this, you will find lots and lots of methods. Now here the method we used is next int, which is also available. You can find there are other methods like next line. Advances this scanner pass the current line and returns the input of what's skip. So it will read the entire line, right? And if you see, there is a method called as next. It finds and returns the next complete token from the scanner. So it will read one word. It will read one word. Next will read one word, and next line will read the entire line from the keyboard. So let's say if you want to, if the input is this is TYCAC A division. This is TYCAC A division. If you say SE dot next line, then this will read the entire line, which is this is TYCAC A division. But if you use only next, then in that case it will read this from the keyboard, and this is uh, A division, TYCAC A division will be skipped in that case. Other methods are also there, which we will eventually use as we write more and more programs in Java. So this is about the scanner class. Now let's go on adding more about programming or more about classes and all. So I'll take a few questions immediately. If anyone have a question on the scanner and this documentation, please post or ask or give me some responses that you don't have a doubt, then we'll proceed. No, sir. Okay, fine. Okay, so let me close the documentation. Let's go back to our sorry. So this is what we have right now. Let's go on and create some objects. Now I'm going to skip out the scanner also. Let me skip the scanner. I don't want this to come in picture. Now QA is going to start. So if I say let me start with this. We are going to explore some of the features of Java int key, and now we are displaying the key on the screen, right? We are displaying key on the screen. So what do you think? What will happen? I need quick answers whether the value of the key will printed on the screen or something will happen. Can anyone give me quick answers on in chat box? If you are expecting output, what will be the error? Okay, so Rajudan Sagre said it's error. Anyone else? Null. Divya have given the answer as null. Okay. Garbage value. Garbage value. Okay, so I have few answers. So if I say Java C, and if I say first dot Java, and if we compile that, it says that variable k might not have been initialized. So in the first lecture, we applied something called as the Java is a strict OOP and strictly typed language. So here I am tracing on a word strictly typed language. So because of this strictly typedness, you are not allowed to use a variable unless and until it is initialized. So what has happened is you have declared k variable, that's fine. But when you try to use a k variable, in the case of earlier programming environment, what may have happened is you may have got the answer as a garbage value on screen because it was permitted in those environments. Now Java do not permit this. Java is a very memory cautious language. It try to avoid errors and unexpected behavior as much as possible. So what it does is, as the compiler senses that the key is not initialized anywhere in the program, so it says that key is not initialized and you can't use it, and the compiler throws an error. Just I have to put a value. Let me put a value as 0 as in a default value for this key variable at the declaration itself. I have saved the notepad file, and now if I try to recompile, it compiles, and if I run, you will get a 0 on the screen. Fine. So now Java is a strictly typed language which do not allow you to use a variable which is not initialized. This is the takeaway from this compiler behavior. If you want to compile a Java program, your each and every variable must have a value, or you may have a variable which is not initialized, but then in that case you should not use it. In this case the program will compile because you have a variable which is not initialized, but at the same time you are not using that variable in your program. So this is also a fine case. So either of must happen. Either you must not use a variable which is not initialized. If you try to use it, make sure that that variable is initialized. Otherwise, compiler will complain. So let's go on. Let me add the same variable in the class, right? And for the sake of purpose of this second line is commented. This line is still commented. Now, what do you think? What will happen? The program will compile or it will give error? Question is on the floor. I need answers from in chat box. But what is going to happen? It's going to compile or there is a kind of error. If the error is the answer, what kind of error you will get? If it compiles, then I'll explain. So Sujata Yadav has raised the hand. You can talk, no issues. Miss Sujata, you can uh, speak, no issues. Unmute yourself and speak, no issues. You can type your answer. Okay, she have typed it. It will compile. Great. It will compile. So it is going to compile, right? So in the earlier, yeah, who is talking? So take this, if I take this and paste it outside of a class, this is the earlier programming environment, right? In which the main method is a completely independent block and the class is a completely independent block. Then this looks fine for us. Like integer k, this k is a member of a method and this k is a member of a class. And we think that, okay, it's going to work fine. But as soon as we bring, see what Java did is Java make it very strict OP, and as Java is a very strict OP, everything has to be inside a class. So main method came inside a class, and now what a programmer thinks is this is not going to work because you have two variables declared with the same name. The variable one is which is in the class, and the variable one which is in the main method. But again, the scope did not change. This k is a member of a class, so it has a class scope, and this k is a member of a main method, so it has a main method scope. So again, this is allowed, right? Now let me put a comment on this line, and now this is a variable of a class, and we this is not a static variable of a class. So to access this variable, we need object, right? So let's go on create an object. I'll create object, let's say first obj. Now this is a fine style if you are talking about C++. This is fine if you are creating object in the C++. But Java says that each and every object in the case of Java has to be created on a heap memory. So we know that if we create object even in C++, when we create object using this style, it will be getting created on the stack memory. And we don't want to create an object on stack memory. We want to create this object on the heap memory. So in this case, or it is not allowed even to create an object on the heap memory. So what happens is it just creates a variable, and this variable is not initialized. So right now this object is pointing to null. In the case of C++, this is a valid object creation and it do have a member, which in this case the member is k. So it do have access to member k in the case of C++. In the case of Java, this object right now is pointing to only null value and nothing else. So to make it point to object, what you have to do is obj is equal to new first. Again, this is a valid constructor or constructor call to the default one in the case of C++, but in the case of Java, you have to compulsory make use of this. I guess some participant have raised a hand or what. Okay, fine. So this is how compulsory you have to create an object in the case of Java. One more thing, why to write the two-line code? Let's bring everything on single line. So this is how we create an object in the case of Java. And this right side decides the which constructor we are going to call. So right now we are calling a default constructor, and we are not writing any default constructor in the case of our program. So can anybody write me whether it will call a default constructor or it will give a error at compile time? What will happen? It will compile or it will be error? Yeah, it will compile. So another takeaway is Java provides a default compiler constructor in your class if you are not writing your own constructor. So remember this: Java is going to provide their own default constructor for the class if you are not writing your own constructor. This line have much more deep gravity. We will understand this gravity in more further session. Let's proceed with our demo. And now if I say system.out.println, now I'm going to access the variable of a class object.key. Now what will happen? What do you think? It is going to give error. See, I haven't initialized Kia, like the main method itself. So what do you think? What should happen? It should give error or it should work? So silence in the chat box, fine. So it's going to work, guys. And now the question is why it worked. Okay, take garbage value. It may take a garbage value. Okay, let me compile. So Java C, let me compile this. So I'll say Java C first dot Java, and I'll say Java first, and I'll hit enter. So 0 is on the screen. So whenever you have a member of a class, remember guys, whenever you have a member in a class, that member always been assigned a default value of its type. Default value of its type. Now, as this is a numerical type, the default value is going to be 0. If it is a string, the default value come as null. So whenever you have a member of a class, it is always assigned with the default value of its type, right? So as k is a member of a class, when you create an object, in this case of obj, when obj gets created, obj have a member called as k inside it, and this k, as it's a member of a class, and as obj is initialized, it will take care of initializing k with default value of 0. So that's why when we print obj.k, it printed 0 on the screen. Now let's go and do more story with this. Let's go and do more about this. So I'll say public first. So here comes our default constructor, and now in this case Java is not going to provide you a default constructor because we are writing our own constructor. So default constructor provision from Java C compiler has been stopped. Now we are on own. There is no default compiler for us. So I'll say constructor for us, sorry. So I'll say k is equal to 0, assigned k is equal to 0. And another thing that I'll do is, instead of assigning k is equal to 0, I'll say k plus plus, right? K plus plus. And now let me remove this. I'll say first obj2 is equal to new first. So we are creating two objects, first and first, first obj and then second first obj2. What do you expect? What will be the answer for obj.k? And on the similar ground, I'll say obj2.k. So what will be the output of this program? Quick answers in chat box. Error not initialized. Okay. One and one from Sagri and Rajvardhan. Rajvardhan is saying error, key is not initialized, and Kshitij is saying is that 1 and 1. Any other output? 1, 2 from Prathamesh Patil. Okay. Any other answer? So I'll bank with Kshitij's answer, 1 and 1. Vaishnavi Patil is saying 1. Okay, one output only. What about the second system.println line? One and one. Okay, 11. Device saying 11. Fine. So it's not definitely 11 because println, we have discussed in the earlier lecture that it prints the output and goes to the second line, right? So you will have a split answer, one and one, maybe on the screen. So I'll bank with the output as one and one. Let me compile and let me execute. So I've compiled and I've, okay, I haven't saved the file. There is a star mark. I haven't saved it. Let me save this. Now we shall compile again and let me run. So here we have the output as 1 and 1. Now let's answer why the 1 and 1 output has come. So what happens is when your program execution start, the class templates get loaded into the memory. Now this template have a member variable. This is a class template and the class name is first. This template have a member variable inside it. This variable is key. So I'll write variable key inside it, which type is integer. Now, whenever you create an object of this class in a memory, what this object does is it copies the definition of each and every member inside it. So it creates a copy of the variable. So let me delete it. So it creates a copy. So I should say here, and that arrow is not going to work. So better use me a lightning symbol, kind of a story. Fine. And here I'll call it as copy of k. So once it creates a copy of k, this is an object. Let me call it as object, huh? And this object variable is going to have address inside it. So this is a reference variable. So I'll say it keeps the address. It's a by a hex address. So let me use hexadecimal addressing. I'll maybe some O x 0x0 is the thing inside the object. So this is the object created in the memory at this particular address. Now this object have copied the k variable, right? And inside a constructor, what you're saying is this k has been increased with 1. As I said that when the constructor gets called, this k by default gets initialized to 0. So whenever this object is getting created, by default k will get initialized to 0 because of its type, which is 0 in the number. So because of it is a number, it will automatically get initialized to 0. Now after this, okay, it's not getting selected. Next thing you're doing is inside the constructor you are saying k plus plus. Now if you say k plus plus, k is equal to k plus 1. That is the meaning of it. Now what is the value of k initially? The value of k is 0. So k plus 0 plus 1, k becomes 1. So the new value of k is 1. So that is a new value of k. So whenever if you print obj.k, in our case, if you start printing obj.k, the value of k is 1. Now let's see what happens if you create a second object. What will happen if you're creating a second object? So again a new object will be created in the memory. Let me create a new object in a memory. So a second object is created. Again this object is a copy of, it creates a copy. It is not the, it's not the same variable. It is going to create a copy. That has turned out to be big bad. So look at, so this is going to create another copy of k. So if whenever you create a new copy of k, that time again this new copy gets initialized to 0 and the whole story repeats. So this k of object and this k of, let's say this is object 2. So this is object 2, which is going to be at address, let's say OX1. So both objects are at a different locations in the memory. The first object is at a low address of OXO, and the second object is at the address of OX1. And these both objects are at a different memory. They both create a copy of K. They are not referring the K from the class. They are creating a copy of K. So as soon as you create a copy of K, and when the constructor gets called, this both gets initialized to 0. So when object got created, the key got initialized to 0. And when the obj 2 got created, the K got initialized to 0. But remember, look, focus on this, guys. This complete memory, this memory, let me use a different color. This memory is a different memory than this. So if you change value of k in one object, if you change this value of k, it is not going to change the value of k in the object 2, because they both resides in completely different memory, and it is creating a copy of k. It is not referring the same thing. So when again in the constructor, when the constructor gets called for this object 2, again you are saying k plus plus. Now what happens? This k plus plus is going to increase the value of k in the second class or second uh, object. So k plus plus makes k is equal to 1. And now in our main program, main method, you are saying object.k. So when you say object.k, this object, first object, have an address 0x0. So it prints 1 from this memory. Now this object2.k, this object2 have a different address, which is 0x1. Now this k is from the memory 0x1. And look at, as these both memories are different, and initially you created an independent copy of k from the class, you are getting 1 and 1 as an output. Okay, Divya says 1 and 1. Okay, fine, Divya, I just saw this. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone why this output will be 1 and 1? Prathamesh Patil, your answer was 1 and 2. Do you really got the concept, or is there any doubt? Got it, sir. Okay, now here comes the tricky part. Just a small addition, just a small addition in the same discussion. So I'm making the k as static. I'm making the k as a static variable. Now what do you think? What will be the output? What will be the output? Now small change. We are changing the variable to static. So this is the style of Java, creating a static variable. So in this case, what will be the output? Apply your knowledge of C++ and tell me what will be the output. What is the expected output in this case? In this case, 1 1. Bhakti Kumbar says 2 is the output. Bhagesh says 1 1. 1 and 1. Amruta is also saying it is 1 and 1. Okay, this time output is going to be different. Let me first check whether Java allows me to compile this kind of a program. Many times the OOP strict OOP programs do not allow you to refer a static member using a class. I'm not sure with this one. Java C first dot Java. Yeah, it compiles. Now it's good time to check the output. Java first. It's not going to be 100 is the answer from Arbaz. Okay, fine. 00 is the answer from Arbaz. Let's see the output. So answer is 2 2. I guess one lady typed the answer as 2. Bhakti, but again she said only 2, but answer is 2 2. Now let's go back to our same diagram. So what happened in this case is, here I said that in the case when the variable was not static, I said that it is creating a copy of k. But as soon as you mark the variable as static, what happens is it do not create copy. It do not create copy. It do not create copy. I have to erase this. So what is happening in this case is it really do not create copy of it. Let me erase this all. It do not create copy, but this key directly refers the variable from class. So they are referring the same variable from the class. So what happens is when the first class say k plus plus, when you said here k plus plus, as soon as you said plus plus in this class, the initial value of the variable is going to be 0 for every member. So 0 plus plus means it is going to be 1. So this 1 value, this 1 is not getting in written in here. This 1 gets written in the class. So k becomes 1. Now next time when you create a second object, that time it refers to the k and it finds that the k is what? K is 1. What you are doing in the constructor k plus plus. So again the k plus plus comes in a picture, k plus plus. But what plus plus? What is the value of k currently? The value of k currently is 1. So what it does is this value 1 gets updated to current value plus 1, which is 2. Now you can see that now this both variables are not having their own copy. They are referring the copy from the class which is in the template, which is in the main memory. My meeting will end in 5 minutes abruptly. If it ends, no problem. We will discuss the same issue in the next lecture. We'll continue with the same thing in the tomorrow's lecture. No problem. So see, the objects still have its own memory. Objects still have its own memory. Their own addresses are different. But the trick is with the variable key. As k is declared as static, you are not getting a different memory for key. You are referring the same memory from the class template which is loaded inside a main memory. So when you say k plus plus, you are dealing with the template memory. When you say k plus plus in the object 2, again you are dealing with the template memory. So when the first object got created, that time k was 0. When the first object got created, that time k was 0. When you said k plus plus, k becomes 1. Now where it will become 1? In the template. In the template it become 1. When you created a second object, that time inside template the k was 1. So again in the constructor you said k plus plus. So k becomes 2. Now you are referring object.k for printing. So you come to this particular address, you go to the k. But k is whether the k is in the object memory? No, k is from the template. So you go long way back to the class template and takes the value of k. Now what is the value of k? 2. So it will print 2 on the screen. Second println statement says that object2.k. Again, you come to the memory of object2, which is a different memory, and you go to the k. Now, in case of this, again, k is not having its own independent memory. What is that k? K is referring to the template. Now, let's go back to the template. What is the value of k in the template? 2. So, again, the output will become 2. I hope I answered the concept very clearly. You got the concept, or there are some doubts? You can ask me in the chat window. Quick responses. Got it? Somebody has raised a hand in the window. Who raised the hand? Okay, fine. Nobody has raised that. Zaveria, okay, you got it right. Okay, good. So let's proceed further. If this is the story, let me do one more thing. We have two objects, and this is a static variable. I'll say first dot k is equal to 33. Now, what will be the output of the program? Now, what will be the output of the program? First dot k is equal to 33. In the case of C++, okay, 22 is, this is how we should refer it. But right now I'm saying I'm using Java. So this is how we refer a static variable in Java. We write a class name dot operator and then k is equal to 33 as static, right? So 22 will be the answer. Bhagyesh has given the answer as 22. Okay, any other answer? 33, 33 from Ashutosh from Shubham also 3333. Anyone else have answer? Divya is also having answer as 3333. So Bhagesh, I will go with the answer as 3333. The output is going to be 3333. I'm sure about this. So if you have a, say, let's compile. I hope I have saved the, again, I have not saved the file. Let me save this. Let me come back to the screen, compile. Let's clear the screen and let's run it. So 33 and 33 is the output, right? So why 3333? What you changed? You changed first dot k to 33. And while printing, this k is going to refer to the class template where it will find 33. The second object is also going to refer to the class template, and again it is going to find 33. And while giving the answer as 2 2, Bhagesh referred to the word as static. So here I have seen this. Okay, so nothing is random. I've seen these answers quite a lot in many sessions. So I'm going to write it like this: object dot k is equal to 55. It's going to work or not? Now, what will be